Hello everyone, this is Rig, and today we are going to talk about the Kushan Empire. The Kushans were important power in the northern part of Indian subcontinent in around 1st century AD. They had their contributions in the field of politics, economics, and most importantly, art. In this episode, we are going to have an overview of the entire Kushan dynasty. So without doing any delay, let's get into details. Introduction to the Kushans. The Qian Han Shu and Hou Han Shu describe the ripple effects of tribal movements in Central Asia, highlighting the defeat of Yueh-chi by Huang-nu. So, Yueh-chi tribe in Central Asia was defeated by Huang-nu, and this was significant because the later half of Yueh-chi tribe came into India and formed the Kushan Empire. And uh, all these stories we know from the Chien Hanshu and Ho Hanshu, which describe the ripple effects of tribal movements in Central Asia. The Yueh-chi split into Little Yueh-chi tribe who moved south to North Tibet and the Great Yueh-chi who moved west displacing the Shakas. So Shakas were ruling in the northwestern part of Indian subcontinent. The Little Yueh-chi tribe moved towards Tibet and the Great Yueh-chi tribe moved towards west and they displaced the Shakas who were ruling in the northern portion of present Afghanistan. The great Yuchi were driven out by the Usun and moved into the Oxus Valley, eventually settling in Afghanistan. So, the great Yuchi tribe who were displaced from the northern part of China, they were further displaced by the Usun tribe and they moved into the valley of river Oxus and eventually they settled in the portion of Afghanistan. Five principalities were established by the great Yuchi, one of which was the Kiwi Shang or the Kushanas. So the great Yuchi tribe established five principalities, and the most important among them was Kiwi Shang, which is later called as Kushan. These principalities were dependent on the central authority of Great Yuchi, indicating a unified structure. So, all the five principalities of the Great Yuchi tribe were united under the central authority of Great Yuchi tribe, and therefore we come to know about an unified structure. Now, early Kushan history. Who were the early Kushans and what was their history? Recent evidence suggests a Kiwi Shang ruler, Maos or Eraos, extending his rule to the north of Oxus, establishing an independent Kiwi Sang Principality in the second half of 1st century BC. So, in the second half of 1st century BC, we find the name of a ruler called Miaos or Maos, who is also called as Eraos, and he somehow became independent from the unified structure of the Great Yuchi tribe and established his independent Kiu Sang Principality in the second half of 1st century BC. In the early 1st century CE, Kujula Kadphises or Kadphises I unified the five principalities, laying the foundation of an unified Kushan Empire. So, Kujula Kadphises in the 1st century CE again unified all the five principalities under his banner and led the foundation of the Kushan Empire. Kajula's coins found south of the Hindu Kush indicate his expansion into the Indian subcontinent. So Hindu Kush was the natural boundary between Afghanistan and the core part of Indian subcontinent. So when Kajula's coins were found to the south of Hindu Kush mountains, we get an indication that his empire extended into the Indian subcontinent. Vima Kadphises, who was Kajula's son, started as a co-ruler and later ruled independently, conquering Kandahar from the Parthians. So Vima Kadphises or Vema Kadphises, as he has been referred in some text, was Kujula's son, and he started out as a co-ruler. There was a father-son dual governorship, and thus the rule of Vima Kadphises started under the rule of Kujula, and later on he ruled independently, and he extended his territories further into Kandahar by taking Kandahar from the Parthians. The reign of Kujula Kadphises marks the beginning of Kushan influence in the Indian subcontinent. So it was from the time of Kujula Kadphises that we get the independent existence of Kushan culture in the Indian subcontinent. Expansion and administration under Vima Kadphises. So, who was Vima Kadphises and how did he influence the Indian history? Vima Kadphises continued the expansion of empire, consolidating territories conquered by his father. So, along with the territories which were already conquered by his father, Vima Kadphises continued the policy of expansion which was initiated by his father. Vima's coins depict him as a devotee of Shiva, showing the religious diversity within the empire. So, the ancestral structure of the Kushan Empire is from China or Tibet, but Vima's coins depict him as a devotee of Shiva. So, the Kushan dynasty rulers seem to have been Indianized, and they are worshippers of Indian deities like Shiva, and that shows the religious diversity within the Kushan Empire. His reign marks significant administrative and economic consolidation as evidenced by coinage and inscriptions. So there was proper administrative structure under the reign of Vima Kadphises, and also there was proper economic structure, and that can be evidenced from the coins and inscriptions which relate to his administrative greatness. Vima's conquest of Kandahar from the Parthians marked a strategic expansion of the Kushan territory. So, Vima was a ruler who snatched Kandahar from the Parthians, and that was one of the most strategic territorial developments under the Kushan dynasty. The era under Vima Kadphises saw increased interactions with Indian subcontinent, fostering trade and cultural exchange. So this was the time when the Kushan dynasty became Indianized, and that we can know from the religious belief of the Kushan rulers and also from the increased interactions with the people in Indian subcontinent. And thus there was a blooming of trade and culture in those times. Now, reign of Kanishk. Kanishka was the first prominent Kushan dynasty ruler who can be said to have been an emperor because he was very powerful and culturally influential in the Indian subcontinent. Kanishka's accession is debated, but it is widely accepted to have begun around 78 CE, starting the Shaka era. So 78 CE is the time when Kanishka is thought to have ascended the throne of Kushan dynasty, and this is the date when we start the Shaka era. His reign saw the expansion into the Ganga Valley and Malwa region, indicating the empire's growth. So, from the time of Kanishka, we get an evidence that the Kushan influence spread into the core part of North Indian subcontinent, and that is the fertile Ganga Valley. And also, his influence spread a little southward from the Ganga Valley, that is the Malwa region. Thus, we get an indication of the growth in the territorial administration of Kushan Empire under Kanishk. Kanishka's influence extended over western and central India as acknowledged by the Shaka Kshatras. So, this has been acknowledged by the Shaka Kshatras also, that Kanishka's influence extended over western and central India. So, he can be said to have been the most powerful ruler of the Kushan dynasty. The presence of diamond mines in Akara, which is in eastern Malwa, may have driven the Kushana expansion into these areas. So, diamond was an useful and expensive resource in those times. It is still now, and there was a diamond mine in Akara, which is in the eastern Malwa. And few of the historians suggest the fact that it is because of the diamond mines that Kanishka ventured into the Malwa territories. Kanishk is renowned for his patronage of Buddhism, organizing a major Buddhist council and enshrining Buddha's relics in a stupa at Purushapur. So, Kanishk is not only significant because of his territorial powers, but also he is significant for his patronage towards Buddhism. So, we have seen that Kushana rulers, the first few Kushana rulers, were worshippers of Hindu deities, but later on Kanishk shifted to Buddhism, even though it can be said he was quite tolerant of Hinduism also, but he organized a major Buddhist council and also enshrined Buddha's relics in a stupa at Purushapur. Economic and cultural achievements under Kanishka. How was the reign of Kanishk significant because of his cultural achievements? Kanishk's reign marked significant economic prosperity with expansion into major trade routes enhancing commerce. So Kanishk was a ruler who paid very much attention to trade and commerce, and he made different trade routes that marked significant increase in economic prosperity. Major Kushana capitals during this reign included Purushapur, which is Peshawar in present context, and Mathura. So there were two big cities, and both seems to have been capital in one point of time or another. And those two cities are Purushapur, which is now called as Peshawar, and Mathura, which is in current state of Uttar Pradesh in India. Kanishk coins featuring Bactrian language inscriptions indicate Central Asian influences on the people. So Kanishk coins did not only have Hindu deities or an inclination towards Buddhism, but also it had language of Bactria. Therefore, we get an indication of Central Asian influence on the Kushan Empire. Kushana influence spread as far as Bengal and Orissa, though not indicating direct control. So there may not have been direct control of Kanishka in the territories of Bengal and Orissa, but there must have been some kind of indirect influence, and that can be seen from the coins and architecture found in these parts during the Kushana period. The art and culture of the Kushanas during Kanishka's reign depicted a syncretic blend of Indian, Greek, and West Asian elements. So, this was the time when Indian, Greek, and West Asian culture mixed up and became one during the reign of Emperor Kanishk. Now, who were the successors of Kanishka? Even though Kanishka was one of the greatest emperors in the Kushana dynasty, but his successors were not that great. Kanishk was succeeded by rulers such as Vashishka, Huvishka, Kanishka II, and Vasudeva I, as evidenced by inscriptions and coinage. So, from the coins and inscriptions of the period, we get names of rulers like Vashishka, Huvishka, Kanishka II, and Vasudeva I, and they indicate that there was short-term rulers after the reign of Kanishk. A massive rock at Hunza between The Karakoram Highway and Hunza River contains Kharosthi inscriptions mentioning these successors. So the names of these successors can be understood from the Kharosthi inscription, which is there in a massive rock at Hunza, and the exact location is between the Karakoram highway and the Hunza river. The empire began declining from the reign of Vasudeva I in the mid 2nd century CE, marking the end of Kushana dominance. So, until the rule of Vasudeva I, there was the dominance of Kushana in the northern and central part of Indian subcontinent. But after Vasudeva I, there was a declining period of Kushana dominance in Indian history. Vasudeva I was the last significant Kushana emperor, and his reign saw the beginning of internal strife and external threats. So, Vasudeva I was the last significant Kushana ruler, and after his reign, there was a lot of struggle between successors, and there was a lot of external threat also, because of which the Kushana Empire ceased to exist. The rise of Sasanian Empire and internal divisions contributed to the decline of Kushanas. So Kushanas were both rotting from inside and being attacked from outside. And thus, after Vasudeva I, there was a decline in Kushan influence. Now, decline of the Kushana Empire. How did it decline, and what was the effect of decline of Kushana Empire? The decline of Kushanas led to the resurgence of regional powers such as the Shaka Kshatrapas in the western and central India. So, once again, after the Kushanas were out of the power scene, there was emergence of regional powers, mainly the Shaka Kshatrapas in the western and central India. So Shakas were there before the Kushanas. The Great Yueh-chi tribe displaced the Shakas, and they came farther inwards into the western and central part of Indian subcontinent. They were not that dominant during the peak time of Kushan Empire, but after the decline of Kushan Empire, again the Shaka Kshatrapas in the western and central part of India grew their power. The emergence of polities like the Arjunayas, Malavas, the Yudhayas indicated the fragmentation of the former Kushana territories. So, the former Kushana territories, which were very united, were divided into polities like Arjunayanas, Malavas, and Yudhayas. They were parts of Kushana dynasty which gained independence because of the decrease of dominance in Kushana power. Coins and inscription from this period reveal political landscape and regional influences. So all this we come to know from the coins and inscriptions of this period. The Arjunayanas were located in Bharatpur and Alwar, and the Malavas migrated to Rajasthan with their capital at Malava Nagara. So these were two important powers who became dominant after the Kushanas, and they were Arjunayanas, who were located in Bharatpur and Alwar region. The Malavas were another important power, and they migrated to Rajasthan and established their capital in a place called Malavanagar. The Yudhayas resided in Punjab and adjacent areas of Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan, with coins suggesting Kartikeya as their tutelary deity. So their main deity was Kartikeya, and the Udayas resided in Punjab, which and also conquered areas adjacent to Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So that was all about the three principalities: Arjunayanas, Malavas, and Yudhayas, who became powerful after the decline of Kushana. Now, Naga kings and the regional dynasties. Naga kings became very significant after the decline of Kushan dynasty. Several Naga kings ruled parts of north and central India, evidenced by inscriptions coins, seals, and sealings. So there was not one but several Naga kings who ruled different parts of North and Central India. All this can be known from the inscriptions, coins, seals, and sealings. The Puranas mention nine Naga kings ruling from Padmavati, which is modern Pawaya in MP meaning Madhya Pradesh, including rulers like Ganendra or Ganapa. So these were the important rulers and the famous Naga principalities which ruled in the northern part of Indian subcontinent. And the main there were about mainly nine Naga kings ruling from Padmavati, and the place Padmavati can be attributed to modern Pawaya in Madhya Pradesh state of India. And we also get names of rulers like Ganendra or Ganapa. Inscriptions and coins from Mathura and Vidisha also name other Naga rulers, indicating widespread influence. So, in Mathura and Vidisha also there were rule of the Naga kings. The worship of Nagas, who are snake deities, was prevalent as seen in text and sculptures from this period. So, this is the reason why they were called Naga kings, because they worshipped snake deities, and that can be prevalent. The worship of Nagas was very much prevalent as seen in text and sculptures from this period. The regional dynasties such as those from Aichhatra, Ayodhya and Koshambi emerged, indicating a fragmented political landscape. So there was no one great single power, but regional powers who governed according to their own wishes in different parts of northern and central Indian subcontinent. Impact on Buddhism. How was the rule of Kanishka significant for the development of Buddhism in Indian subcontinent? Kanishka's reign significantly influenced the spread of Buddhism with major council held at Jalandhar or Kashmir. So there was a Buddhist council held at Jalandhar in Kashmir, and that marked a significant evolution in the spread of Buddhism. Kanishka's coins and inscriptions also depict a variety of deities reflecting his policies of religious tolerance. So, even though he was personally inclined towards Buddhism, he was very much tolerant of other deities in those times, and that reflected his policy of religious tolerance. The king is credited with sending Buddhist missionaries to Kashgar, Yunnan, and China, expanding Buddhism's reach. So he did not restrict Buddhism to Indian subcontinent only. He sent Buddhist missionaries to Kashgar, Yunnan, and China, and thus there was an expansion of the reach in Buddhism culture. Kanishka's support helped establish major Buddhist sites and fostered the growth of Buddhist art and culture. So it is because of Kanishka that we get many Buddhist sites which he independently had built, and thus it fostered the growth of Buddhist art and culture across Indian subcontinent and beyond. The Gandhara and Mathura school of art flourished under the Kushanas, blending Hellenistic and Indian elements. Gandhara and Mathura school of art is very much significant because it is the place, it is the type of art where we see that Greek style Hellenistic art forms and Indian elements mixed together to form a unique type of culture in the field of art. Now, legacy of the Kushan Empire. What was its legacy? Why is it prevalent? The Kushan Empire was significant Central Asian kingdom that impacted northern and northwestern India. So this was a significant Central Asian kingdom who came from outside and made huge impact on the northern and northwestern part of Indian subcontinent. Key archaeological sites include Kara Tep, Dalverzin Tep, and Sur Kotal, providing insights into the Kushan period. So these are key archaeological sites which provide great amount of materialistic information regarding the Kushan period. The Kushanas left a lasting legacy in art, architecture, and culture, with influences seen in subsequent Indian and Central Asian art. So were the people who blended Central Asian art with Indian culture and made a unique form of art and culture in the Indian subcontinent. And thus, we see influences in subsequent Indian and Central Asian art. Kushan coins and inscriptions serve as valuable historical records, shedding light on their administrative and economic systems. So, from the Kushan coins found and also the inscriptions, we get information regarding the trade routes which the Kushans followed, and thus we also get an insight into the administrative developments and economic systems during the time. The influence of Kushans persisted in regional politics, trade, and cultural interactions for centuries after their decline. So, even though Kushan Empire was not that much long lived, but their influence was there centuries after their decline. Now, sources and historical evidence. What were the sources of Kushan history? Primary sources include the Chien Hansu and Ho Hansu, detailing the movements and history of the Yueh-chi and Kushanas. So, the how the tribe moved from Central Asia right into the heart of Indian subcontinent, that can be understood from the writings like Xian Hansu and Ho Hansu, that give us the migration details regarding the Yueh-chi tribes. Coins, inscriptions, and archaeological finds form the primary evidence of Kushan history and administration. So, coins are very important, along with them, inscriptions in both Indian and Central Asian languages, and also numerous other archaeological finds give an insight into Kushan history and administration. Significant inscriptions in Bactrian and Kharoshthi script provide insights into the linguistic and cultural aspects of Kushan Empire. So, from this, we come to know that in the Kushan Empire there was a blend of different kinds of structure, with different kinds of sculptures, and that can be understood from the inscriptions in both Bactrian and Kharoshthi scripts. Major coin finds in regions like Mathura, Purushapur, which is Peshawar, and Gandhar highlight the economic reach and influence of the Kushanas. So we get coins and archaeological findings in places like Mathura and Purushapur and also Gandhar. From there, we can understand how economically influenced were the Kushanas. Historians like B. N. Mukherjee have contributed extensively to our understanding of the Kushana period, providing interpretations of various archaeological and textual sources. Now, in conclusion, we will see an overview of the entire presentation. The Kushanas emerged from the Great Yueh-chi migrations, establishing a powerful empire under leaders like Kujula Kadphises and Vima Kadphises, expanding into the Indian subcontinent and Central Asia. The zenith of Kushan Empire was achieved under Kanishka, marking the territorial expansion, economic prosperity, and significant patronage of Buddhism, contributing to the spread of religion and flourishing of Gandhara and Mathura school of art. The Kushans were known for their religious tolerance and cultural syncretism, as reflected in their coinage and art, blending Indian, Greek, and Central Asian influences. The decline of Kushana Empire began with internal strife and external threats from the Sasanians leading to the rise of regional powers like Shaka Kshatrapas, Arjunayanas, Malavas, and Yudhayas. The Kushans left a lasting legacy in this Indian and Central Asian history, with their contributions to art, architecture, trade, and the spread of Buddhism being remembered through archaeological finds, inscriptions, and historical records. Their influence persisted in regional politics and culture long after their decline. So that was all about the Kushan Empire. Hope you liked it. And in my next video, I plan to bring details about Emperor Kanishk. Hope you will like that too. And with your support, I wish to bring brighter contents in future. Thank you so much for your love and support.